Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, today we are plunging right into all the buzz around Superman 2025, this film. Wow, it's really shaken things up. And the big question, the one we're really digging into is, did James Gunn actually deliver? Is this the revitalized Man of Steel we've all been hoping for? So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack the vision behind this new movie. We need to understand its place, its really crucial place in the long and sometimes complicated history of Superman films. And naturally, we'll dissect how it's landed, critically and commercially right out of the gate. We've got a lot of ground to cover here.
Yeah, absolutely. And for this, we've gathered, a whole range of detailed reports. We've been tracking the launch, sifting through those early critical reviews, the important ones, and of course, analyzing the opening weekend box office numbers. It really gives us a fascinating snapshot of, a potentially pivotal moment for DC.
It really does. So let's set the scene properly. Today is Friday, July 11th, 2025. And this marks the worldwide theatrical release. This isn't just another superhero film landing. It's really positioned as the cornerstone, the foundation of the whole revamped DC universe. It feels like a major event. Okay, so Superman. He's been around since, 1938, an absolute icon, that legacy. It's massive. Few characters even come close. And your real challenge has always been, how do you honor that history, that deep-seated image, but make him feel fresh, relevant for today? For so many people, Christopher Reeve, his Superman in 78 and Superman 2 second in 80, that's the gold standard, right?
Definitely.
They just blended the, awe-inspiring spectacle of genuine heart. They pretty much wrote the playbook for the superhero genre tropes we still see everywhere.
And what's fascinating, if you look back, is just how much the success of Superman films has, varied since Reeves. Wildly varied. Think about Superman Returns back in 2006 with Brandon Routh. It was pitched as a soft sequel, sort of a nod back to the Donner films. Right. But the reviews were mixed. Wasn't it like 72% on Rotten Tomatoes? Mm-hmm. And the box office, it was okay, but modest. Didn't quite reignite things.
No, it didn't. And then things got really interesting, didn't they? Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, 2013, Henry Cavill. That was meant to launch the whole DCEU, the DC Extended Universe. And the goal was clearly different, grittier, a more deconstructed take.
Right.
But that darker tone, and especially that ending, boy, did it spark debate, passionate arguments from fans, from critics. And you saw it right there in the Rotten Tomatoes score, 57%. So Henry Cavill's Superman became this huge, recognized thing, but also deeply, deeply divisive.
Exactly. And that fluctuation, critically and commercially across all those films, it just kept highlighting this core challenge. How do you bring Superman to modern audiences perhaps used to darker stuff, while keeping his essence?
Yeah.
That optimism, that moral clarity. It was a constant struggle, really. And that struggle ultimately is what paved the way for this complete creative reset.
And that reset arrived, pretty dramatically with the announcement of James Gunn. I mean, this is the guy known for Guardians of the Galaxy, the Suicide Squad. That unique blend of humor, heart, and really unconventional superhero stories. So him co-leading DC Studios and writing and directing a new Superman, that was a statement, a bold move.
Yeah, and as we connect this to the bigger picture, Superman 2025, it's not just another movie. It's the official cinematic launchpad for DCU Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters, this whole meticulously planned, interconnected universe. Now, technically, the animated Creature Commandos was the first DCU project out. But Gunn himself kept saying, Superman is the true start of everything. It embodies the tone, the core themes of this new universe. And the aim, very clearly, was to be tonally distinct, really emphasizing hope, kindness, but importantly, without shying away from complex moral questions. It's a tricky balance to strike.
And what's really compelling about the story itself is that it isn't an origin. That's key. We meet Superman, Clark Kent, already active for about 3 years. He's a working journalist in Metropolis.
Right, skips the setup.
Exactly. The film dives into his struggle, reconciling his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing in Smallville. He's already good at his job, both jobs, actually. He's madly in love with Lois Lane, the script says. And interestingly, he's already meeting other superheroes who apparently find him a bit naive. That's a fascinating angle.
Yeah, and digging into the plot specifics, Superman finds himself up against this calculated scheme by Lex Luthor, Nicholas Hoult playing him. Yep. Luthor basically tries to turn the public against Superman. He gets hold of a farewell message from Jor-El and Lara. Twisted, it makes it sound like Superman's here to conquer Earth.
Wow, classic Luthor manipulation.
Totally. And this sparks widespread public mistrust.
Right. So Superman has to actively prove he's a protector, not some kind of alien threat. And this brings up an interesting point. How Gunn builds this world. Metropolis isn't empty. There are other metahumans. Some are part of this group called the Justice Gang. Green Lantern, specifically Guy Gardner, Mr. Terrific, Hawk Girl, Metamorpho.
Justice Gang, okay.
Yeah. And crucially, you've got Crypto, the super dog, which is just delightful.
Yes.
And Gunn even slips in this subtle visual gag with Clark's hypnotic glasses to sort of wink at how his disguise works. It's a nice touch. Okay, let's talk about this cast, because it definitely got people talking.
David Corenswet as Clark Kent Superman. He seems to bring this great mix, doesn't he? That classic square-jawed heroism, but also something modern,
Right.
relatable.
Mm-hmm.
And we heard about the physical transformation too, like serious heavy weights, core stability work, high-calorie diet.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently put on significant weight for the role. He really filled out the suit.
And then you have Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane. She's fantastic, obviously. We know her from, well, her Emmy-winning work. She brings that sharp wit, that emotional depth, and their relationship, Clark and Lois, it's already established in the movie.
Wow.
That allows for immediate chemistry, which apparently really works.
Yeah, you don't have to wait for it.
Exactly. And Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. He's so versatile. The reports suggest he really nails Luthor's intellectual brilliance, but also that manipulative side and that fierce belief in human superiority. Sounds like a fresh, menacing take.
And it's not just them, is it? The supporting cast really feels like it's populating this new DCU from the get-go, signaling the scope.
Well, you've got familiar Daily Planet faces like Skylar Gisondo as Jimmy Olsen, Wendell Pierce as Perry White, but then these exciting additions to the Justice Gang, Nathan Fillion playing Guy Gardner's Green Lantern, which sounds hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Edie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific, Isabella Merced as Hawk Girl. It feels like a broad, rich world right away.
And Anthony Kerrigan as Metamorpho, Maria Gabriela de Faria as the Engineer, Sarah Sampaio as Eve Teschmacher, even Keanu Williams in a role grounded in Metropolis daily life. It's a proper ensemble.
Okay, so let's shift gears. The launch, the reception. This is where it gets really interesting. The film premiered at the TCL Chinese Theater in LA, July 7th, and as we said, wide global release today, July 11th.
And what's really striking is just how positive the early critical buzz has been, overwhelmingly so. The review embargo lifted on July 8th, and the scores started rolling in. Right now, it's holding an impressive, 86% on Rotten Tomatoes?
86, yeah.
And the popcorn meter, the audience score there, is even higher, 96%. That is a huge jump from previous Superman films.
Massive difference.
And over on Metacritic, it's got a generally favorable Metascore of 68. Strong critical agreement there, too.
And reading the reviews, the praise is pretty consistent, isn't it? David Corenswet's easy charm, his earnest quality. People are saying he really is Superman.
Yeah, they're buying it.
And the dynamic, the chemistry between him and Rachel Brosnahan's Lois, that seems to be a real highlight for many.
Mm-hmm. A strong core.
And of course, Gunn himself. Critics are saying he successfully returned the character to his roots. That sense of hope, kindness, infusing it all with colorful visuals, humor, a lightheartedness. It feels like a classic comic book brought to life, but in a modern way.
And it's interesting how well the quirkier comic book stuff has landed.
Mm-hmm.
Like Crypto the Superdog, even the hypnotic glasses gag.
Right.
People seem to appreciate the film embracing that side of things.
Yeah, not being afraid to be a comic book movie.
Exactly. Now, it wasn't universal praise. There were a few minor criticisms floating around. Some reviewers felt maybe he was a little overcrowded with characters and ideas, trying to set up too much.
Okay, I can see that possibility.
Or that Gunn's touch was maybe occasionally a bit irreverent and messy. But honestly, these felt like outliers. The overall feeling. A massive success, a triumphant relaunch.
Right. So let's talk money, the box office. Because this is where the narrative gets really compelling, especially with all the talk about superhero fatigue. The initial tracking, the projections, they were kind of all over the place, weren't they? Like $90 million to $130 million domestic opening. Cautiously optimistic, maybe?
Yeah, there was definite uncertainty. But okay, fast forward to Monday, July 14th, the actual numbers. They blew past those concerns. Thursday previews alone, July 10th, a massive $22.5 million. That's the biggest preview day of 2025 so far.
Wow. Bigger than Barbie and the Batman previews.
Bigger than Barbie, bigger than the Batman previews, and it absolutely smashed Man of Steel's solo Superman preview record.
Okay.
Then the full domestic opening weekend, Friday to Sunday, an estimated $142 million, best opening for any superhero movie this year, comfortably beat Man of Steel's opening.
That's huge.
And worldwide, it crossed the $300 million mark already, which puts it firmly on track for somewhere between $800 million and maybe even $1 billion globally.
Incredible number.
Plus, the scores have held up or even slightly adjusted. Rotten Tomatoes is now 82% certified fresh. The verified audience score is still sky high at 95-96%. Metacritic user score is strong at 7.7, and it's tracking for an A or A cinema score from audience exit polls. That means word of mouth is going to be extremely positive, which is vital for legs.
So what does all this mean? These numbers, the reviews, it feels like it's not just defying superhero fatigue. Maybe it suggests the fatigue wasn't with superheroes themselves, but maybe with a certain kind of superhero story, that relentless darkness maybe.
That could be it. I mean, Gunn's success here seems to prove that optimism, genuine hope, when it's grounded in good storytelling and real stakes, it still resonates deeply.
Yeah.
Especially perhaps after years of deconstruction. It feels like this really hit the spot for a lot of longtime fans who wanted this Superman back.
Yeah, a return to form in a way. Okay, so Superman 2025 is clearly just the beginning, the first flight, as they say. Superman 2 isn't officially greenlit yet, right? But with this kind of success.
Well, it's virtually assured. You'd have to think so. Probably looking at, 2 or 3 years? 2027, maybe 2028?
Seems likely. And the ending of this film apparently sets things up quite clearly for future stories. Lots of threads to pull on.
Definitely. And again, thinking bigger picture, Superman 2025 really is the proper kickoff for this whole ambitious slate. DCU Chapter 1, God and Monsters. So much lined up already. We've got Peacemaker Season 2 coming up soon, August 2025. Then Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow in June 2026, starring Millie Alcock. And Supergirl apparently has a small cameo in this Superman movie, too.
Oh, interesting tie-in.
Yeah. Then Lanterns, the series focusing on Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan, mid-2026. The Brave and the Bold, the live-action Batman and Robin movie with Damian Wayne. And it's not all capes and tights either. Gunn's talked about diverse projects like Clayface, described as a body horror film. That shows real tone and range.
Right, they're not just doing one thing. And what about those potential spin-offs? I heard whispers about TV shows for some of the supporting characters from Superman.
Yeah, Gunn himself has mentioned he's considering series for characters like Mr. Terrific, played by Edie Gathegi, and Jimmy Olsen, Skylar Gisando's character. Both roles apparently got a really positive reception in the film, so exploring them further makes a lot of sense. Build out the world.
Definitely.
So yeah, ultimately this film's success, it feels like a pretty definitive answer to all those years of debate about previous versions, doesn't it? It really seems to solidify Gunn's vision for DC revitalized, centered back on hope, optimism, and just understanding what makes these characters tick.
Okay, so let's wrap up our deep dive for today. Superman 2025. Well, it seems to have definitively launched the new DC universe. And with real, resounding success, it marks a truly triumphant return for arguably the most iconic superhero of them all, James Gunn's vision, brought to life by David Corenswet and this clearly talented cast. It navigated those tricky relaunch waters by, well, leaning into the core values: hope, kindness, a vibrant, connected world. It's kind of a reminder, isn't it, that sometimes what people want isn't darker or grittier, but just genuinely inspiring. So, thinking about all this, what does it mean for you listening right now as the Man of Steel takes flight again? What stories are you hoping to see in this revitalized DCU? And maybe more broadly, how do you think this big swing towards hope might influence the whole landscape of superhero movies going forward? Something to think about.